What did you do when the world shut down? Maybe you developed a new exercise routine, spent more time with your family, or maybe you spent your days doom scrolling. In March of 2020, I got sent home from my restaurant job, and like many others, did not know if or when I would return. I spent my days with my family, everyone engaged in their own activities to distract themselves from the COVID news cycle. We weren't the only ones looking for an escape. The trend of making your own starter and sourdough bread was very popular in the first few weeks of lockdown. And after seeing so many recipes and tutorials, I decided I can do that. So after developing my starter, I knew that making my own loaf was going to be an all-day process. So I set out early one morning to my parents' house, and as I entered the kitchen, I discovered to my horror, my starter had exploded out of the mason jar and all over the kitchen counter. I managed to scrape up what I needed and kept going. I knew that the first step in any recipe was to preheat the oven. So I jacked the temperature up to 450 degrees and started gathering my ingredients. But as I was doing so, the room around me began to fill with smoke and my nostrils filled with the scent of burning oil. Next thing I know, the fire alarm goes off and my brother comes busting into the kitchen. "What are you burning?" And I have to scream back, "Nothing, I don't think so. Help me find the fire alarm." So after scrambling about, we find the fire alarm in the back of the linen closet. He helps me fan the smoke out, and we check the oven to find that cast iron skillets were being stored in there. As I returned back to my ingredients, I realized I'd forgotten what I'd measured out, so I had to restart. Thankfully, things started to take a turn for the better, and I had a successful rise, and I was actually pretty good at the slap and fold technique of kneading. Eventually, it was time to put my little ball dough into the oven, and over the course of an hour, the room began to fill with the sweet aroma of yeast and a stifling heat. When it was time to cut open the bread, it had a beautiful network of airy holes and a beautiful brown crust with a slight char. And we devoured it greedily. And I'll never forget, my brother, with his mouth full, said, "This was almost worth you burning down the house." 3 years later, I reflect and think, why was that trend so popular? And it must have been a reason to culture and develop the microbiology around us, which is something we so desperately wanted to do with COVID-19. Some clear instructions were appetizing idea in a world of chaos. Thank you.
No, you did not.